service, or rather than just shutting them off. You know, so I don't know if the
Well,
motion,
as,
I don't know if the motion that's gonna be
the
written
motion
will
gives
include-
us the authority to determine what the penalties are.
So it allows us to just shut it off, right?
The penalty section, goes through a series of fines right now, and that's, the only thing that's gonna be done is we're gonna add a new section, which gives the ability to shut it off. However, the establishments of water restrictions, rules, and regulations will be totally up to you to determine as the situation comes up. So if you decide you want to adopt some type of doubling of the fee, then I think it conceivably could fit under that, I'm not sure though. I'm really
I
not.
mean, this would be more of a penalty, though, an imposition of a penalty charge.
Right.
for
I thought we were
noncompliance.
tweaking the penalties to begin with anyway.
What's-
We're not doing that?
Well, all we're doing is just adding this section to allow
Adding
us
it.
to shut it off.
That we have the
There's,
ability.
it's
to
two
turn it off.
pieces.
So maybe we could just add one more, another section to impose additional fees during times of water restricted use, or whatever the terminology is gonna be.
Mhm.
Any input from the audience? Dick? You've had to deal with the crisis.
In my experience, shutting people off, it is tough to do, but once you do it, people comply. In this town, you can charge them all the money you want, they'll just keep writing checks.
Guess they have to
Help the
comply if you
deficit,
turn them off, right?
Right.
That kinda impacts you big time.
Well, I think we would double them first, or triple them first, and then shut them off.
They won't know until 3 months later when they get the bill.
But
Yeah,
Do we have a shut-off fee and a
No, there's-
turn-on fee?
I think, just provide us with an additional opportunity to kinda
Just
water
give us the
deficit.
flexibility.
Well, if the adoption of the article, it gives us the flexibility to write the rules with a public hearing, then, you
Yeah,
know,
but the penalty section didn't allow it.
that's true. I think Dick is right, is that, you know,
Oh, there's no doubt that that captures
some
people's
people have
attention.
large enormous lawns that they spent thousands and thousands of dollars for,
They're gonna pay.
and paying a little higher water bill
Well, what's a
doesn't
little?
faze them at all, you know?
Well, I'm not saying make it just a little. I threw double out there, but double might not be enough.
As it happened last summer, we literally did not have a legal right to shut anybody off, so people were just, so, I mean,
Maybe
I
just
hope they didn't
having
get
the
that on
legal
camera.
right.
Capture that?
Can we edit that?
I didn't hear it. What did they do?
I think he speaks the truth.
He does.
declined to comply.
Mr. Chair?
Just a suggestion, if the board majority isn't in favor of including it, then he doesn't have to include it.
No, I think,
I'm in favor of it.
Mr. Yule, you were.
Yeah, I guess my concern or my note of interest is how is this going to affect the role of the Water Commission? They have a responsibility to determine how water is used, to set standards, set rates. And you have a commission that's designed to do that, that was set up by the Board of Selectmen some years ago. We seem to be taking the decision-making away from a commission, in essence, taking away from the people and putting it back onto our shoulders, when probably we should be delegating issues like this. Now, granted, the Water Commission has had issues about meeting, having a quorum, and we have begun to address that at this time. All right, so they are ready to go forward and to start delving into ideas such as this. So is the intent, I mean, there have been discussions about eliminating the Water Commission already, and this would be one step in that direction. And, well, that's what you alluded to, Mike, okay? And there
We
were
got
discussions. all right, so, of disbanding the Water Commission. So the question is, do we want to continue to go through due process, or do we want to start adjusting the rules so it's convenient for us to do everything we want to do?
I think it's,
So that's
first of all, I
what I'm
think
trying
that's
to
an
identify.
administrative, so all that stuff's administrative matters that should be handled internally here, whether, the commission's going to come in and make a recommendation to the board before we impose the water restrictions. They can't do that, we do that.
Right, I understand that.
Yeah, so, so to me, it's more administrative communication issues that need to be taken care of and handled. As far as what's being proposed, it's just giving the board the necessary teeth to enforce some things, enforce some action on the part of the people who aren't complying.
Oh.
So, but as far as, the water commission stuff, and I think it's just a communication issue. I don't think personally, I don't think it needs to be disbanded. I think they have a role to play here.
Well, it actually just gives the Water Commission another tool that they can remind us about and recommend to us in the future when we potentially should use it and shouldn't use it. It's just another tool. This isn't, nothing
That's the
to-
intent, that's what I'm trying to identify here, because we had an emergency situation this summer that we had to react. And thanks to DPW, Dick Carnaval, they alerted us and we reacted very quickly. So, and I guess that's by design, and it worked. So I just want to be sure that the integrity of due process continues for that commission.
I don't see this as interrupting that at all.
Okay,
Either.
Greg?
Just real clarification, that the water commissioner's responsibilities, that Jeff, I think you touched upon them. Number one is to recommend water rates. Number two is to recommend the annual capital improvement plan, and number three, to recommend the water department operating budget. Those three bullets are specifically enumerated in the bylaw. However, there is nothing with regard to the water commissioners having any role in declaration of a water conservation or water emergency. That responsibility solely falls on the shoulders of the Board of Selectmen, and this article does not change that in any way.
So, on the bylaw, restrictions of water use and violation penalties. I lost kind of track of,
I'll take it. Yeah.
that's it.
Everybody has 3 up to now. Now Sean has.
except me.
No, you have 3.
Right?
You have the first one, right?
Mr. Sean has more than three.
I'm
Well,
going to
I-
count.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Let's go.
Okay. Article 23, I think the town clerk has been sitting patiently here. He should have spoken up.
Waiting for
'cause
dogs.
I
She's
forgot
waiting
about
for dogs.
In this article, there's no proposal here to change any of the rules about dogs. This is really about the town clerk being able to collect the funds and,
Well, basically to be able to adjust fees without going through town meeting to do so. If the fee is incorporated within the bylaw as it currently is, then we need to bring it forward to town meeting at any time that we want to adjust the fees. So, back in, I think it was in 2005, the town accepted the Mass General Law that's cited there, that gives departments the authority to set their own fee schedules. And so at this time, what I'd like to do is withdraw this from the bylaw so that we can make adjustments from time to time in accordance with our regular fee adjustments to be in line with our neighboring towns and such, without going through the town meeting process, the Attorney General approval process, and all of that processes that are required. It doesn't change the language at all. It still allows for basically the same language, that if we do charge a lesser fee for an altered dog, that we just require that proof from a veterinarian to show us that still, so there's still the option to do that and maintain that. This is, if this passes, this is really my first step to another change in the bylaws, which I would have to incorporate in April, because I'm thinking about changing the licensing period, which is another section of the bylaws, to be calendar year, rather than, right now it runs from June 1 to May 31st, which is an awkward time period. It's not fiscal year, it's not calendar year, it's neither. And to change the licensing period, it would be my intent then to send out notices with the census mailing, which we don't send any notices out at this time. because of the cost of printing and mailing and such. So incorporating it with the census, I'm hoping would generate more people to license their dogs, generating a little bit more money and not having a big impact on the expense of doing that. It would be somewhat of a renewal notice, which we don't have in place at this time. So, but that process, because of, the approval process with the Attorney General and such, to get this after town meeting, and with the election coming up in November, I'm not sure where my, steps would be in getting this to the Attorney General. And so it was not feasible to try to change the licensing period at this time, because the census notices go out around the 1st of January, and I know it would not be in place at that time. But for now, just making this change would allow us to adjust our fees. They haven't been adjusted for probably 8 years. And so we could get a little bit more revenue this coming spring during the licensing period, and then look forward to the next year to maybe capturing more people, more animals getting licensed with a change in the licensing period.
We can amend the water thing. If you don't have a licensed dog, we shut your water off too.
Barbara, with respect to licensed dogs, they're, years ago, the dogs, there was no leash law, so they roamed the streets, and therefore, if they were doing something or whatever, you'd go and look for a license. Today, everybody's on a leash, or they're homebound dogs, they don't get out. It seemed to me it's easy to skirt the rules. Or am I missing something?
No, we do get a lot of violations from the dog officers on unleashed dogs, and then when they're found, they're asking them for the rabies, proof of rabies, and many of them don't have that, so we get double violations at that time. The dog officers are both part-time, and so they do the best that they can, given the time period that they're paid to do the work, but they do respond to the calls, and like I said, we have a steady stream of violations for unleashed dogs still in the town. I'm not trying to remove those fees, because they're fairly comparable to other fees by towns, and those are more under the control of the animal control officers. But just the licensing fees itself for our purposes in the office, for the work involved with writing up the licenses and putting it on a database.
Okay, any other questions? This is both recommended by the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen at this point.
I can add,
Jeff?
yeah,
Thank you,
Okay.
gentlemen.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Barbara.
Barbara.
good night, Bob.
Thanks, Dave.
Dick.
Good night.
Accept the cross access easement agreement, Elm Street property. This is one the board discussed at our last meeting, and it is recommended.
Not unanimously.
4-1.
4-1. That's right. Anybody interested in more info on this? And who voted against it? It was you, right? You want to take it? I'll take it.
No problem, we'll take it.
Okay, and
Wanna give
then
them a
Article
minority view?
25, establish Board of Health Clinic revolving fund.
Martin's here.
Martin is here, waiting patiently in the back. This is to adopt MGL Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, and I believe the revolving fund would be to take funds collected for various things in support of the immunization clinics. Is that correct?
Yes, we would bill, basically the funds would come from billing for seasonal flu clinics, reimbursement from Medicare, Advantage plans, and,
Hey, can you come up here, because I'm sure the audience, listening audience won't be able to hear you.
we're in the process of applying with UMass Medical to bill participating insurance plans for people under 65 years old. So I anticipate we might be able to get reimbursed $10,000 to $15,000 a year.